Hi, my name is Aya, you're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to do another hate to love romance recommendations. So I did this video 2 times already. I did, I believe, an enemies to lovers and a hate to love. I do feel like those two are pretty similar, so in all of those recommendations you'll find both hate to love and enemies to lovers. And I have 10 more to share with you. So if you want more hate to love recommendations or enemies to lovers, check out the 2 videos I did before this one, and I'll leave them linked for you. This time I don't have a whole lot of variety as far as genres are concerned. I have 8 contemporary / dark romances, and then I have 2 other romances. And one is basically a paranormal romance and the other one is a fantasy romance. So I don't know if you can hear that, but that is the wind. There's a strong wind, so I'm sorry if you can hear that. The first book I want to talk about is If I Hate You by Helena Hunting. So the title says it all. It is definitely a hate to love. You follow Tristan and Rix, or B, and this is a brother's best friend. So basically they grew up together. Now B is like living on her own. She has her own apartment, but she has the worst roommates ever. Her job is also very much not fulfilling. So on the day she quits her job, she also decides to move out of her house, or basically her roommates really give her no other choice. So she asks her brother if she can stay at his apartment for a while until she gets back on her feet. And of course he agrees, but her brother is not living alone. He lives with his best friend, Tristan. And Tristan and B have always had this hate dynamic. It's like I said, they grew up together, and he was constantly like not making fun of her, but he didn't want her hanging around, so he would call her Beat for Beat It. And she kind of had a crush on him when she was younger, but that turned quickly to hate when he didn't want anything to do with her. But now they live together. They are bickering very much the whole time until one day they decide to have sex. So this is one of the type of sub-genres for hate to love that I really like. I tend to like it in hate to love when they start having sex even though they still hate each other, and that happens here. He finds her annoying. She's constantly around. He loves her smell, and he constantly is smelling it because all her stuff is in his shower. And like, when I say this man is obsessed with the way she smells, I'm not lying. He's constantly sniffing her, smelling her, and I don't know why. I just like that. I don't know, like I said, I don't know why. I just do. It gives fated mates. It gives, like, there's something about her scent that is uniquely made for him. I don't know. Call me weird, but I just like that. So like I said, they start hate fucking, and like it goes on for a while where they have sex and they really don't like each other. And he is an emotionally repressed hero. He constantly keeps pushing her away because he doesn't want to feel things, because when he was 12, his mother left him and his brothers, and therefore he had to basically help his dad take care of his little brothers. And in his mind, he really doesn't have the space nor the capacity to take care of somebody else, and he feels that if he were to have a girlfriend, that would just be another person for him to take care of. Even though that's strange, because B is very much taking care of him in this book. Like, she makes his life easier in so many ways, and he doesn't like that because it means that he has to rely on her and he doesn't want to. So I do have to say with this one, it's not for everybody, because like I said, he's an emotionally repressed hero. He's not the kind of hero that everybody's gonna love. He constantly keeps pushing her away, and this book not only has a 3rd act breakup, it has a 4th act breakup. But in my opinion, I felt like it was necessary because he really needed to figure out his shit, and he wasn't doing that yet. And she really deserved somebody who was there for her, who was like a little bit more balanced. Oh yeah, I didn't say, but this is a hockey romance. So he's a professional hockey player, and he also is dealing with the fact that he doesn't really have an actual spot on the team. So that also takes up a lot of his time. And also she wants to be a nutritionist. So she constantly makes food for them because her brother is also a hockey player, like nutritious foods. And like I said, that is part of how she helps them. This is the start of a series. I have not continued on yet, but I really, really enjoyed this book. I really love Helena Hunting's writing style. I do. I really loved Pucked. And what's interesting in this book is technically it takes place in the same universe. So Alex Waters is mentioned, but in this book, he's already like a granddad, I guess. But I really love this book. And it's definitely a hate to love, which I love. Another book where they start having sex while still hating each other is Garum Park by Nordica Night. So this book takes place in a trailer park, and Devon and Maddox have been rivals ever since they were little because both of them do motocross, and basically their fathers have pitted them against each other because both of them are very good, and basically if one is winning, that means the other one is losing. So they're constantly battling against each other or competing against each other. But an interesting fact is that their brothers are actually best friends. So one day, Devon's father brutally beats him, like almost to death, and he's looking for his brother and he cannot find him, so he goes to Maddox's place to see if maybe his brother is there. His brother is not there, but Maddox is, and he sees the state that Devon is in, so he takes him in and takes care of him, which of course Devon hates. And then because of that, they start interacting a little bit more, and because Devon and his brother are avoiding their father, they spend more time at Maddox's place, and that's when they start hate fucking. So this is an romance. Devon has known he was bi for a while now. Maddox, however, thought he was straight the whole time. But because they start finding each other attractive, they both get realizations about their past, that there was probably more of a reason why they were so obsessed with each other. It's probably because there was always something more there. And I know Devon, for example, always was intrigued by having sex with Maddox's exes, so that obviously, because he felt like that was a way to kind of connect to him, I guess. Sick way to do that, but anyway. And eventually it's going to be their romances. It's a duology. I've only read the first book, so technically what I read so far is a happy for now, but I'm very much excited to read the sequel. But this also, in my opinion, was a very good hate to love. It was very clear that they hated each other, and it also made sense that they hated each other because of, you know, outside influences. Like, these two could have been friends and could have been allies, but it's because of their dads and their sport that they became enemies, basically. And basically the whole trailer park knows that they hate each other. So when they actually start being friendly in the beginning, when they actually start being friendly to each other, people are kind of side-eyeing them. What I do love about this book is that there's not really any homophobia in this book. Like, pretty much everybody accepts it right away. And I don't know, I really love this book. If you're looking for a good hate to love, definitely check this book out. Next is King of Wrath by Anna Huang. So this is the first book in her Kings of Sin series, so you can definitely start with this one if you want to read any book by Anna Huang. Although I'd have to say most of her books you can read without having read the other ones. But this series are all different heroes that personify a different sin, a different deadly sin. So this one is obviously Wrath, and you follow Dante Russo, and he is a billionaire. All of them are billionaire romances. One day, Vivian's father, who he doesn't know, comes to his place and he starts blackmailing him. And what Dante has to do is marry his daughter, Vivian. And basically they decide, or they come to an agreement where he and Vivian will be engaged for a year, and then afterwards they have to get married, and in that year they also have to live together. So Vivian, who's the dutiful daughter who will do anything her parents want, goes along with it. So now they're living together, and what's interesting is obviously Dante doesn't want to do that, and he's gonna use this year to get back at Vivian's father, and he thinks that Vivian had something to do with it. So he hates her from the very beginning, and he doesn't want anything to do with her, and he doesn't like her. So when she first gets there, he's like, this is your room, your ring is on the nightstand, wear it. So she really is flabbergasted. She doesn't know why he hates her, because obviously she doesn't know what her father did. And while they're living together, she starts charming his staff, who he has an interesting relationship with, because technically, yes, they're his staff, he's paying them, but since he had very much absent parents, they also kind of raised him, so that was an interesting dynamic. And then since they're living together, they have these small, quiet moments where both of them get hungry in the middle of the night and they start eating together in the middle of the night, and they start falling in love. I really love this book. If you've watched my channel for a while, then you know then you know that I don't really love billionaire romance, but I think Anna Huang does them particularly well. I love how this was very realistic to me, that he hates her for a very justifiable reason. Like, he's literally being blackmailed and he has to marry her even though he doesn't want to. And then because he sees how good she is and how sweet she is and how beautiful she is, he starts falling for her. And I really love the types of dates they have. So some of them are very much extravagant, but then others are very simple, where they go to the park and go eat at a food cart. So But yeah, definitely at the beginning, he doesn't want anything to do with her, and he definitely hates her and her family. And what's interesting is, obviously, while he starts falling for her, he still wants revenge against her dad, who she, even though she has a more complicated relationship with her dad now that he's become rich, she still loves him, and she doesn't want, like, she doesn't want her family to be ruined. So that also, like, while you're reading it, you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Like, there's gonna be a third act conflict, obviously, and how are they going to resolve it? But this was beautiful. And the way I read it was interesting because I actually read this last. So I read the second, third, and fourth book first, and then I read this. So I actually got to see them living out their happily ever after before finally getting to their book. So that was also, it felt kind of like a prequel to me, and definitely one of my favorite Anna Wong books. Next is technically a Christmas novella, and yes, even though it does revolve very much around the holidays, in my opinion, you could read this now too, because right now it's winter, and it feel like if you want to extend the holiday spirit a little bit, definitely read this one. But I think you can love this without it actually being Christmas. So this book is being compared to The Hating Game and You've Got Mail, and I think that is a perfect comparison. So you follow Gabriella and Jonathan, and Gabriella loves the holidays, like she loves Christmas, it's her favorite time of year, and Jonathan hates the holidays. And they've been working together for a year, and they definitely don't like each other. Like, they are constantly bickering, they don't see eye to eye. They both have both of them are managers, and both of them have have other visions for what they want the bookstore to be. So they both of them work at this like indie bookstore, and this giant bookstore chain moved like next to theirs. So the owners fear that they're gonna go bankrupt. So they tell them right before Christmas starts that maybe they have to fire one of them. So both of them make a deal that whoever can sell the most books during the holiday season gets to stay and the other one has to quit. Gabriella thinks that Jonathan is constantly judging her because she's autistic, and he doesn't know. She doesn't want to tell him either because she feels like she will give him like a piece of her, whereas he never gives her anything. She's bubbly, this very much grump sunshine. She's bubbly, happy all the time, and he is very much a grump. And what I love is at one point he tells her, "Your capacity for joy," he says quietly, "it's humbling." I love that. So while they are hating each other, both of them are actually talking to somebody online, and they don't know who that person is. And obviously it is, you can guess who they're talking to. I really love this. I thought this was a good, like, rivals to lovers, hate to love. Like, it made sense why these two hated each other. But then it also made sense that it turns into love because nobody really knows. They spend so much time together and only with each other. So especially Jonathan knows Gabriella very, very well, and he does little things to help her, even though she doesn't know that. So this is definitely a pining hero, and I just really loved it. I thought it was great, and aside from the fact that it's a very good holiday novella, it's also a very good hate to love romance, in my opinion. Next is a little bit of an older one. Let me see when it came out. It came out in 2021. This was pretty popular when it came out, but since then I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, and I still think it's a very good hate to love, and it's The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. So you follow Shay and Dominic, and both of them work at this public radio station. She has been working there for a while now, or for nearly a decade, and he just started, and this is a older woman, younger man romance. I don't know the exact age gap, but she's a bit older. And he's like the young hotshot, and the bosses really like him. And she immediately doesn't like him because she feels like she's been there for a while and she wants to do stuff that her bosses don't want to do. And he is this young hotshot guy who gets everything he wants. And then they need a new concept, the station. And then she proposes a show, and her boss greenlights it. And she wants like exes to deliver relationship advice. But her idea was that they would actually hire actual exes to do that concept. But since the radio show doesn't have a lot of money, they want Dominic and Shay to pretend that they used to date and that they were exes, and that now they're giving that relationship advice. And it basically goes viral. Like, people really love the show, and they believe that they're actually exes because like they have this banter going on. And that's probably because they don't like, or at least she doesn't like him. And then it's going to be their romance. So technically it's also like a fake dating situation in a way. Like, they have to pretend that they used to date. It's basically that romance. I do have to say, I don't remember too much after that. Like, I just know that eventually it turns to love. But yeah, you honestly, you fly through it. It's not that long, and it's like a fun hate to love romance, but it's not too serious. Not like Garen Park, or where it's constant like hate. Even though she really doesn't like him, I wouldn't say it's like loathing. It's more like, why are you here? I don't want you here type of thing. And I kind of also like that. Like, there needs to be a balance. I don't constantly want like people actually hate each other. Like, strong dislike to me is also fun to read about. Next is technically a holiday or novella, but these novellas you actually can, like, you definitely can read any time of year. So it's called Liberty Falls by Leisure Co. And this, I believe, is like a 4th of July, I think, holiday romance. So you follow Arya and Cameron, and they have grown up together because their parents are friends, but they have been rivals ever since they were small. Like, they were constantly competing who could achieve something first, and they've been doing that for 3 decades. And during 4th of July, they have this so I believe he's a fireman and she is a police officer. And during 4th of July, like, the fire station and the police station, they do this competition of who can sell, or they both sell like food items, I guess. And Cameron and Arya, they compete who can sell like the most things. And obviously, while they're doing that, they are trying to one up the other one, and they are using customers in their kind of war. But like I said, this has been going, like, this is only one example that we get to see, but in the past they were constantly doing those kinds of things. And then during this like 4th of July, things finally escalate and they start having sex. And I like this type of hate to love where they have known each other for such a long time, but like they are very much connected because their parents really do like each other, so they can never escape one another. Like, it's not like in a workplace romance hate to love where you can get away. If somebody really was not happy, they could always get a new job. Or in a different type of situation, this situation, they know that one way or another they are always around each other, also since it's a small town. And I really enjoy these Holly Nights novellas by Leisure Co. I think they're very fun and very entertaining. A lot of them deal with like hate to love, and a lot of them have like a different type of kink. I believe this one is like candle wax thing, since he is I believe since he is a fireman. I think he likes playing with fire. I don't know, I just really enjoyed this, and it's a very quick one. It's only like 113 pages, so you fly through it. Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. So this is a hate to love in 2 different ways. So you follow Elsie and Jack. And Elsie is a theoretical physicist, but her job doesn't pay her enough, so she moonlights as a fake girlfriend. So basically there's this app where guys can hire her to be their fake girlfriend for the night, and basically like to be their date for some sort of event. And one of her her favorite client is Jack's brother, and she has been his fake girlfriend for a while now. And Jake was always very suspicious of her. Like, there was something about her that was just off, and she realizes that, and she thinks that he hates her. If you're a fake girlfriend, you cannot really be honest about your actual job. So I think she told his family that she is like a librarian or something. So now she's applying for a new theoretical physicist position, and who's one of the people that is in charge of hiring but Jack. And he thinks that she's a liar, that she's been playing his brother, and he's very suspicious of her. And she, once she realizes who he actually is, hates him because he is a experimental physicist. And like a decade ago, he wrote this scathing article that basically ruined her mentor's reputation. So she despises him. During like the 2 weeks where the board has to decide whether or not they want to hire her, they do get closer, and he immediately spots something about her that other people close to her never have. So she does code switching, basically. So she becomes almost another person based on who is in front of her, basically. So she sees what they need and kind of becomes that for them, and he spots that and kind of calls her out on it and tells her that she should just be herself. What I love about this book is, yes, it's definitely hate to love in the beginning. Like, they both have valid reasons for not liking the other one or very much being suspicious of the other one, but what I love is that this, at the end of the day, becomes a very normal romance, like a romance that a lot of people would want in real life. Like, for the other hate to love romances, yes, they're fun to read about, obviously, but with some of them, I'm like, I really don't want this type of relationship in real life. Like, that just sounds like a headache and a half. Whereas with this one, eventually, it's just like simple things where they spend their weekends together, you know, giving me your weekends, and you know, at his place, and they do like normal things like watch movies together, stuff like that. And you know, that is really all I want in life. So to see that in a book, Jack really is one of my favorite book boyfriend. I think he is perfect, exactly what I would like in a man. And this was just great. And I really loved in the beginning how they really don't like the other one, but in classic Allie Hazelwood fashion, Jack is definitely a pining hero, and that is also why he was so suspicious of her, because he was so intrigued by her. If it was like his brother's girlfriend who he really didn't care that much about, he probably wouldn't have paid that much attention. And the last like contemporary / dark romance is Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. So this is the first book in her Wicked Villains series, and basically this series follows like different Disney villains getting their HEA. And this also takes place at this sex club that Hades runs. And this one is obviously, a Jasmine and Jafar romance. It's definitely an erotic romance. This book starts off with Jafar killing Jasmine's father and then abducting Jasmine. And that is basically where the hate to love comes in, because she's his captor. In the past, they used to do stuff together, like consensual non-consent things. But she like lived in her like kind of castle thing, very much being protected by her father. And now basically she was also kind of like a captor a little bit to her father. Like, she was living in her golden cage, and now she was dreaming of freedom, but now she lives in another golden cage basically with Jafar. And even though they have amazing sex, she still is not free, which is where the hate to love comes in. While they are together, and even though, like I said, they do have sex, at the end of the day, she wants to be free. So she will do anything to gain her freedom. Even though he has like this future planned for them, she doesn't want anything to do with that because she wants to be free, and he is not giving that to her. So this was very hot. It's not like, if you're looking for a hot hate to love, definitely read this, but don't read it because you think you're gonna find your favorite couple, because not a lot of people love this couple, and I can definitely see why. But it is definitely hate to love in my opinion. Now for the other categories. The first one I want to talk about is a paranormal romance, and it's Kiss of a Demon King by Cressley Cole. So technically, this is the 6th book in her Immortals After Dark series, and even though I would recommend definitely reading at least one of the first 4 books before reading this one, technically this starts like a different arc, so you can read this without having read the other ones, but in my opinion, the Immortals After Dark series is an amazing series, definitely one of my favorites. So I would highly recommend like reading them in order. But this book, you follow Sabine, the Sorceress of Illusions, and Rydstrom, and he's a demon. Basically, this book, definitely very much hate to love, and definitely a lot of dubious consent scenes, because if I'm correct, so basically this book, one time she captures him and does like kind of sexual torture on him, and then after that, for revenge, he also kidnaps her and also does the exact same things. So that is going to be like a long struggle to get back from that. They definitely don't like each other. They're on opposite sides of like a war, because he is a king who lost his crown, and she works for the guy who took his crown basically. So definitely very much enemies to lovers, hate to love. While you're reading it, and especially seeing what they do to each other, you're like, how are you going to come back from that? Like, that is like one of the worst things you can do. How can you get your HEA? But Cressley Cole does it every single time. She's amazing at writing hate to love and enemies to lovers, and books where you're, even though they are fated mates, you're like, surely too much damage has been done. Like, how can you get back from that? And I love how she does it, and it was great. It's very much an amazing hate to love, enemies to lovers. And like I said already, the Immortals After Dark series, all of the books are enemies to lovers. So if you're looking for a great paranormal series with amazing enemies to lovers, where while you're reading it, you're like, I cannot see any possibility that these two will work it out in the end, definitely check out the Immortals After Dark series. And last but most certainly not least is The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. I do have to say with this one, I've only read the first one and I haven't heard the best things about the second one. So I'm kind of waiting for the third one being released and seeing the reviews to decide whether or not I want to continue on with it. But The Veiled Kingdom on its own is an amazing hate to love. You follow Naira and Dacre, and Naira is like this secret princess, but her father has been hiding her since she doesn't have any powers. And then one day there's this rebellion who wants to overthrow the king, and Dacre is part of the rebellion. And she ends up fleeing the castle when the rebellion attacks. And then at one point, due to circumstances, she eventually gets captured by the rebellion. And Dacre is suspicious of her from the very beginning. And they have this, definitely a hate to love, like they don't like each other, they're constantly bickering and bantering, but both of them are very much physically attracted to each other. So even though he hates her, he's also jealous if like other guys talk to her or she talks to other guys. So eventually this hate turns to sizzling, scorching, hot scenes together. And I'm assuming this is going to turn into love. Where I'm at, like after the first book, definitely not happily ever after yet, since you follow them throughout the 3 books. But this was so great. Like I loved their banter together, I loved their bickering, and it was very hot. Like, but I do have to say, I know a lot of criticism was that she basically wrote the scenes for like the TikTok crowd, and I get why. Like it feels like she had like a couple scenes that are very popular with smutty romance readers and she kind of ticked them off, but I did feel like it worked in this book. Like it felt like it fit the characters, and I don't know, I just really loved it. I love this type of fantasy romance where, like in the beginning, they definitely don't like each other, especially if one is suspicious of the other one and the other one has, even though that person is very much correct about being suspicious and the other one has to pretend like there's nothing, like the other one is crazy, even though they know they're right. And then eventually turning into a romance. I just love that. So those were the 10 hate to love romances that I wanted to recommend to you. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were. Also, if you have any good hate to love or enemies to lovers recommendations for me, leave those in the comments below because I'm always looking for some good hate to love romances. If you don't have any recommendations but you do want to say that you're there, leave me a castle emoji for the Veiled Kingdom. I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving a like if you did. I thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day and I'll talk to you later. Bye.